ReZero Season 2 Episode 21. Yo, this trio.
屋敷の襲撃を止めたかったのに、かえって後に引けない感じにしちまった。
He really rattled Roswell's pride. He's protecting so much, way more than just the plan.
一刻も早く
It's his whole worldview.
駆けつけなきゃならねえ。
It's so crazy that after all we've done, we've only solved a small portion of the problem.
だったら俺様も行くぜ。
I mean, obviously. Oh, wait, but...
屋敷に行くってことは、
Oh,
聖
yeah.
域の外に出るってことですよ。あなたは結界に引っかかるんじゃ。
Do you know way out?
問題ねえや。
Oh, okay. What? He could have left any time.
運も男を見る目もねえ人なんだよ。
She did get hit by a tree, so...
それ先に言えよ。
Yeah. Not that surprising, though, that he would, like, willingly choose to stay.
ただでさえ最強の俺様がより最強になれ。
No, we were, like, getting equipment. Gotta go to the shop to get the latest weapons and armor before the boss.
ここからはラムの勝手にするから。
Have you ever done any differently?
無茶はすんなよ。
それをバルスが言うの。
Fair. Right. Also, this is terrifying and crazy thinking he's trying to do this without using Return by Death. The pressure has never been higher. Also, even though we're adding Garf to the mix now in the fight against Elsa, every single person we've seen fight her has struggled except for Reinhardt. Do you even necessarily need to beat them? You just need to get everyone out, which means another confrontation with sad Beatrice. Maybe that's the turning point. We have a lot more information on Beatrice now and why she's a little bit distrusting and jaded and lonely and waiting. Oh yeah, and there's also the rabbits. Good God, there's so much going on still. It's so counterintuitive, counterinstinctual, because the feeling is like we're winding down and we've already solved all the problems, but I don't know. What have we solved? Emilia got some confidence.
そういうわけで、バカ3人は賢い治療に勇者を引か
Right,
せて
right. They sent her to explain.
話はわかりました。
Good. It's so great that it wasn't like a huge overreaction and a meltdown. It's really important. He has to go.
バルスはエミリア様のことを誰よりも思っていますよ。
I think with a clear head, she'll immediately feel that and know that.
まだあと2つあるみたい。だからこの後また墓所に入らなくちゃいけなくて。
But it feels like we've crossed a critical turning point,
本
right?
当にお強くなられたんですね。
Yeah, the first one's got to be the hardest. Maybe by some metric, the challenges themselves are more difficult, but the composition of the person doing the trials has changed so radically that it almost feels inevitable, which is one of my most optimistic and I think favorite thoughts. With the right spirit, which I think Subaru is a really great avatar for, you know, the never giving up, letting go a little bit, backtracking a little bit to get a better ground to move forward, taking the best, most useful view you can take at any moment, trying to stretch the maximum of your ability to affect things in your life, then you will get what you need out of things eventually. And it doesn't even necessarily mean success in the immediate way you thought it would be. You will always get what you need from a thing if you're able to take the lessons from it and move forward with it. The only real failure in that sense is something like letting the thing just break your spirit completely and any attempts you would have at doing anything. Wearing that protective blanket of everything I want is impossible. It's been really fun for me to watch Subaru and Emilia and this whole like who should do the trial thing. My initial critique was something like Emilia's not doing the trial doesn't preclude her from the growth that she needs, and that ultimately she needed to be treated like a human being and had to want to do it herself, genuinely, not be kind of pushed into it. One thing that came to mind later is that Emilia's critique of Subaru in that moment actually parallels very closely the pain she's probably experiencing in her early iterations of the trial. The things she says are like, you won't even get angry with me, you broke your promise, I messed everything up. That has similar beats to the flashback, right? I still think that Subaru's approach to that was messy in a great and realistic way. Granted, there are very real restrictions to what he's able to tell her. I think generally hearing confessions, what makes people wary, is where you feel it's crossed the line between it not being about you and being about them. And there's a lot of that in Subaru, right? But the core thing that's really great about it, and I think that made all the difference, just giving her something else, something more positive that is outside of herself, that isn't just like her pattern of ruminating thoughts of how terrible she is. I mean, it's just like Roswell and what I was saying last episode about people become defenders of their own prisons because that's the world that they feel the safest in. Just giving her a very strong message where it's like, yeah, you made mistakes and bad things are going to continue to happen, but I'll be by your side and we'll get through it one at a time and smile at the end, so to speak. Also, I still think he should have kept his promise or not made it. I think that would have gone farther than writing on the walls.
申し訳ありません。
It's okay.
急にどうしたの？今、ラムは初めて本心から頭を下げました。
So all those other times you were...
エミリア様がお立ちになられると信じていませんでした。
I mean, yeah, me too. At this moment, at least. Subaru was the believer.
少しだけ減点ですが。
She couldn't let it go.
ラムが手を貸したのは、協力する価値があると判断したのはエミリア様です。
That's really interesting, I think, is a key point. Emilia did this, ultimately. No one saved her. People just helped her.
お願いです。
My eyes can't
エ
even
ミリア様。
comprehend this humility.
ロズワール様をお救いください。
After last episode now, more than ever, he seems like somebody that needs to be saved and maybe even is worth saving. Speaking of relentless service.
その申しはすでに結末への道を外れました。願いは矛先を見失い、ロズワール様は形だけの文字にすがるばかり。
Yeah, she's explaining this very, very well.
王座にお付きになってください。
That seems easy after, your past.
歩み続けた道の外でも思いの結実する日は訪れる。そうロズワール様にどうか教えて差し上げてください。今日を明日を生きる意味をお与えください。
But you gotta work with us. And he can work with us.
助けてあげて。
I don't see any clear and direct evidence, though I may just have missed it, that all of it is not possible. That what he desires and what Subaru and Emilia desire can't both be worked out. Because it's about Echidna, but it's also a lot more than that, right? It's just his heart and his will in the world. It's more general of a solvable problem than Roswell is admitting, which is great news for him, actually, even if he can't see it. It's not really about Echidna. Another possibility for Roswell is that even he himself doesn't believe his wish can be fulfilled. That may be where a lot of the desperation and cynicism comes from. Just speaking from personal experience, if I feel super assured in a goal, it's easier to be patient and to tread carefully and to make sure I'm not making mistakes along the way. Because it's like, well, I'm going to get there one way or the other, so may as well get there in a way that is satisfying and not terrible. It's when you're panicking that you take shortcuts and make moral sacrifices, and that's when it gets really messy. So with that thought, it's cool, interesting that her advice is to assure him that his wish will be fulfilled. Because then he can take a breath, right? Like, oh, maybe it actually is possible and I don't have to give up and make these bizarre assertions, be so jaded and hate everyone, etc., etc.
私を信じてくれたあなたに私は答えてあげたい。きっとそれがここから私が始めなくちゃいけないことなんだわ。
It feels like Emilia's just begun as a character. This feels like her starting line. Oh, you're here. Okay. You saved me the time of going over there. Don't do anything terrible and stupid, even if that's hard for you.
周りの期待に応える以外に愛される術を知らないあなたが望まぬ過去との相対を余儀なくされる状況。
Okay, that's interesting.
あなたには無理だと私は思っていましたが。
素直にありがとうって言いづらいお祝いね。
Yeah, it was very condescending, Roswell.
渡しちゃダメだと思ってたって言ってたけど、少しは見返せた？
I feel like I'm being called out here.
みんなにいっぱい迷惑かけてたもの。
It's alright.
でもみんなが私を助けてくれたの。点でダメな私にみんなが手を貸してくれた。
Even she's not giving herself enough credit there.
スバル君と同じことを言いますね。それも彼の受け売りですか?
That reminds me of Metal Gear Solid like everything else does. Is that even your own idea or is that something Snake told you? What's cutting about that is that there's probably some truth to it, right? I mean, she's still thinking very much in terms of others' perceptions. And it is kind of borrowed energy. But that's okay. I mean, it's not like she's going to do the trial and then be perfect. I think it's more of like a process thing. You just foster the faith that things can get better and you put one foot in front of the other. And that's a real thing she's felt, even if she's parroting words.
どうせ理屈や道理など解かず、ただただあなたを知った激励しただけでしょう。
I mean, technically.
何せ私と彼とは同類ですからね。
It's a very melancholy viewpoint.
理想を押し付けるということですよ。エミリア様を甘やかし、優しく丁重に扱ったことでしょう。あなたが普通の少女であるなど考慮もしてくれなかったでしょう。 彼が恋しているのは
That's a very smart critique because I think part of that is true. That was also part of my reaction to that confession. There's also a part of that that's just always true no matter what. The us to others is always going to be a conception of theirs. As much as villains try this in anime, in real life we can't merge consciousnesses. It's fine. It doesn't really matter.
それだけ?
That's a relief.
スバルとロズワールは全然同じじゃないわ。
Wow, it's almost like your words have no
スバル
weight.
ね、私のこと面倒な女だって言ったもの。
He did, and he clarified that she's not perfect.
お前は口先ばっかりで見てられないって。全部スバルの言う通りだって。
Yeah, it's funny that that was what resonated with her the most in that conversation. The real honesty about her downsides.
スバル
Yeah.
が信じるって言ってくれた気持ちは嘘にならない。嘘にしない。嘘を願いにする。それが今
That's a really nice way to look at that. I love that.
ことでしたいことだもの。
Speaking of like taking the highest viewpoint on a thing, that which Roswell is not yet capable
あな
of.
たもまた変わっていく。
Very melancholy.
それが私には到底受け入れがたい。
I feel like this is actually enraging him.
だからこそ私はあなたに同情する。
Yeah, it's circular. It all feeds back into the same thing. A pre-decided conclusion.
正しい道筋を外れ、誤った行く末に向けてずれた世界だ。すでに聖域も応戦すらも無意味に。
ロズワール？何を投
Did
げ
you
出
get
そ
that
うと
from
し
your
てるの？
book? Is this because of Otto?
ダメなものはダメよ。諦めないで。そんなの勝手すぎるじゃない。
And it's sort of weak.
あなたの口にする体現相互、果たしてどこまで実現可能なのか。
Well, we'll find out, won't we?
私がこれから証明する。
Right.
あなたのお願いは絶対に何とかしてみせるから。
But it's going to be more work than I thought because this goes deep with Roswell. Back-to-back trials, huh?
始めたのは私と先生だ。 それだけは間違っていますよ、エミリア様。
I mean, I don't think Echidna's at fault because I like Echidna.
ガーフィールの件で君が彼らに協力したことは聞いているよ。無論良かれと思ってしたこととは分かっている。
ロズワール様、
Oh, this. Yeah, I don't like this. Oh,
エミリア
I'm
様
like on
は
edge for
戻りを
Ram.
待つといい。
Okay.
けなげ
Oof.
なあの方を出迎える者がいなくてはさすがの私も胸が痛むからね。
That was a sad one. Tough spot for Ram.
本当のお望みのお手伝いができると思うんですよね。
Oh, he's the merchant.
口惜しい。
え？
口惜しいとそう言ったのよ。詳しく聞かせなさい。
I hate it. Tell me more. Where can I get one of these? Asking for a friend. You son of a bitch, I'm in.
と考えているんですが、いかがでしょうか。
I love it.
ガーフの鼻っ柱をへし折るのには大賛成。
That's fine. Acceptable.
ラムがどうして賭けに乗る気になったか黙っておくことよ。ラムの最後の爪だけは譲れない。
I think it's already been given up.
君にはエミリア様を待てとそう命じたはずだが。
ええ、命じら
Yeah,
れま
tough
した。
spot. She's gotta reject his wishes for his sake.
魔女の申しよりあなたを奪いに参りました。
申しね。
How could they be delusions when they feel so real?
ラムの目的のためとガーフのバカさを強制する2つの意味がありました。
It needed rectifying.
剣を握る者は剣に、魔にすがる者は魔に、炎に委ねる者は炎に。
そして鬼に願う者は鬼に、よりどころにしたそれに滅ぼされるだったね。
Wow. What does that mean?
抜け殻となった私でよければ君の好きにするといい。そう誓ったね。
生かすも殺すもラム次第。
There's also multiple meanings to the idea of kill. She could kill these delusions.
故郷を滅ぼした一員である男にしたくもない忠誠を誓って過ごさなければならなかっ
That
た。
was you?
君ほど優秀な駒は他にはいない。だからこそ惜しい。君の決断はほんのわずかに時期尚早だ。
It's weird because my initial theory about Ram was that she was with Roswell for Rem's protection. Though it's not mutually exclusive that feelings could develop from that. But it's also weird because Rem doesn't exist right now. I wonder if that like skewed the feeling somewhat. This is also Rem believing in Roswell's ability to change, which is antithetical to Roswell's beliefs.
聖域の核となり、友人のためにその身を捧げた尊い少女だ。
Way too generously in my opinion.
万全の状態の私を屈服させることに意味があると、それとも一
Well, she's
秒
not
で
trying
も
to
早
just
く私を召し
kill him
た
to
かった
kill
の
him.
かな。
いいえ、やはり
Right.
誓願が成就し、抜け殻になったあなたを差し出されてからでは意味がない。壊れたあなたを迎えても、この胸は満たされない。
Yeah, it hinges on like helping him improve, it seems.
しかし今の君で私に勝てると。
いいえ、
I've heard that Roswell's magic is way powerful than what we've seen in the show. Way more powerful.
2対1なら
Oh, so they tossed her this.
魔女の申しからあなたを奪い取ると。
Never. Oh, hi.
来たまえ。
お望みのままに。
Is Ryuzu's crystal okay?
逃げなきゃ。
Go home. Run home. This is Petra's fault more than Echidna's. This whole thing.
あら、可愛いお嬢さんね。
She's so terrifying and so awesome. My first love in this show. Before Echidna. Before I met Echidna. Why do I always love the bad ones?
とあなたの腹渡はとても綺麗に違いないもの。
I don't like that, though. That's weird.
悪い子ですわね、ペトラ。
Yes, you are a bad girl, Petra.
言ったのに。
Yeah, right.
お仕置きですわよ。
Yes, thank you.
二人の腹渡を並べて中身の相性もいいか
This
確
bowels
かめ
thing.
てあげる。
The bowels. It's all about the bowels.
でも私少し前にオートで死ぬような思いをして
Oh
た
no,
ら
she got
腕が
better.
上がった
We made her stronger.
あなたじゃ無理ね。
As if she wasn't lethal enough.
今度こそお屋敷の外へ。
Go!
メイドさんが二人と精霊の女の子。精霊のお腹は開けたことがないから期待してるの。
You're doomed unless someone shows up to help you. Which, luckily...
ベアトリス様なら
No, please just leave. Please, just leave. Subaru, what have you done? Shouldn't try to inspire everyone.
スバル助けてよ。
This timing would be so great. Wow.
ペトラ
Amazing. Imagine this from her perspective. Imagine showing up in time to hear that. This just makes things so much worse. He's a god now.
俺の代わりに超強い援軍を送り込んでおいた
Wonder how Garth fares.
胸の下ばかり狙うのは一体何のこだわりですの
Because the bowels. So for the bowels. I think she's made that pretty clear, yeah.
大将の話
Did he just block that with his bowels? These are some special bowels.
じゃあ
Okay, it was
防御する盾と攻撃までできるようにしちまえば
it's the gauntlets.
そう思わねえがや姉貴
Long time no see, right?
でかこれ姉貴か
At a time like this, Elsa, you can't ignore Elsa.
そろそろ私は再会のお邪魔をしてもいいのかしら
Right.
待ってって気が利くじゃねえか
It was nice.
君でそのレムって女を連れ出してくれ俺様はあいつの相手で手一杯になる
I hope he's been fully briefed on how lethal she is.
ガキの頃に姉ちゃんと俺で遊んでた
Oh, it is?
俺様の最強の出発点は姉ちゃんと一緒に走り出したことだろうが
That's sweet. I hope he doesn't die. And I can't believe I just said that. There was a time. There was a time when.
手始めに最初の壁ってやつを俺様が完膚なきまでにぶっ壊してやれ
Reunion of Roars. Alright, we got some talking to do.
どうして呼んでやった覚えはないの
I know. Yeah, but
お前を連れ出すぜベアトリス
I wonder if we go that route. Because my initial reaction to Subaru Beatrice was like, don't engage her fantasy. Don't tell her I am him or whatever it was. You can't be her salvation any more than you were Emilia's. But you definitely can help her.
今度こそお前は俺の手でお日様の下に引きずり出されてそのドレスを泥だらけにして真っ黒になるまで遊ぶんだ
That was a huge episode. There's something really nice forming in this season where there's a growing focus on the divide in characters and their levels of how much they're willing to hope. It's not necessarily a hero versus villain thing either. I mean, everyone has this to some degree. That self-perpetuating loop of like negative assessment and then confirmation bias that confirms and deepens that negative assessment, etc., etc. Conviction, I think, is thought of as a universally positive trait. And there are definitely beautiful things about it or ways it can be applied, but maybe it depends on what that conviction is, what it's applied to. Conviction that the world is terrible and people are terrible and weak and not allowing any room for things to surprise you for the positive, which if you would allow it in others and in the world would also mean maybe allowing it in yourself. Sometimes what that looks like is just not knowing. You're not guaranteed of any specific outcome necessarily. There will be great swaths of time where you don't know what to believe, and that will repeat over and over again and again, and will require a lot of hardship and work every time. It looks sort of exaggerated in media, but I actually think I see this all the time in real life to the same degree. I have conversations with people where they're literally arguing with me that they are doomed, you know? It's like, why are we having this conversation? What is this? Why is it so hard to convince you of something that is so wonderful about you? And I have many conversations with people who are so bitter and furious about all the various flaws in humanity without being sufficiently self-aware that it's their bitterness, that very thing that is reflecting out into the world, that makes it more likely that they encounter that, and also creates the lens so that they're more likely to hone in on that element of things all the time, when really it's just a part of the whole. Even on the positive side, people make such binary and specific judgments about people or sides or ideas where there's something like a categorical determination that the thing or person is good, and then that goodness even is a blinder on the very delicate and nuanced things that are happening. You get stuck in a position where you're defending something that's terrible because of the preconceived notion that the thing is good and that you're on that side. And on the reverse as well, right? Like this person is evil, which means you can't allow for anything good that they do because you're stuck in this blanket viewpoint. And to admit one good thing would undermine your entire working view, which you're attached to for one reason or another. Whether it makes you feel comfortable, having that feeling that you understand, knowing the box in which everything fits as if everything fits into a perfect neat little box, makes you feel like you have a moral justification or are a good person also categorically, and so your work is done, your trial has ended. One of the things I love about Subaru and the things I see characters picking up from him are their ability to kind of like revisit and focus on the overall process of the thing. It's like, yeah, maybe I don't know and maybe I'm not good enough yet. I have failed a lot and I will continue to fail, but it's not a death sentence. I'm gonna like keep picking up the responsibility of being nuanced and thinking carefully and not committing evil again and again, moment to moment as situations arise. And that positive outlook actually has room for and includes the reality and actual real flaws and dangers. It doesn't have to be hopeless idealism, though that also is a thing. It does mean discomfort, it does mean letting go of some pet beliefs, but that itself is the solution to the problem that you're saying is unsolvable. You're sort of the benchmark of the problems that you see. You wish people would understand, well, it's no coincidence that Roswell sees people as weak and is concerned with whether or not their words have weight. It's not a coincidence that Subaru can see the potential goodness in other people. It's no surprise that Eren sees the world as hateful and something to be destroyed. It's no surprise that Hinata can overcome any challenge in volleyball. It's all just a mirror. It's one big mirror on themselves.